Super excited. Today I'm going to be speaking about child-proof traveling. I have a 5-year-old and I have been in van life for now 6 years, and so I really don't know what it's like to travel in a van without my child. So although it is always something to be perfected, I'll never have it completely down. I have found a few different ways that have maximize my time on the road and minimize my stress. So I wanted to share all with you my favorite tips and tricks for stress-free travel when you have kids. Granted, I do have one 5-year-old, so if this needs to be changed, whether your kids are a little bit older, a little bit younger, whether you have more than one, mine is one that feels like 3, so just change it according to you. But first things first, I always like to say that prepping your vehicle is the most important factor in ensuring that you have a great time on your road trip. So before you're even setting out, we want to make sure that the kids are set up first, because that ensures that you're going to have a good time after them. So if they're in a car seat, we're going to go ahead and make sure the car seats are fastened in as they should be. All their favorite blankets, any stuffed animals, pillows, things like that. My favorite thing to do is have a little packable cube, and I'll put all of their favorite items that they need, and so any of their favorite toys, coloring books, blankets, any of their favorite stuffed animals and things like that, so that it's in the seat right next to them, so they don't have to constantly ask me for things. In this little cube, I'll also have other items as well, such as wet wipes, tooth flossers for after we eat, hand sanitizer, food mats, and things like that, to minimize him needing my assistance as we're traveling. So if he's eating a snack in the back, well, once he's done, he has his own little portable trash can in there as well back with him. Rock and roll. He has his own little portable trash can with him, so he can dispose of his things and then wash his hands and wipe off his hands with a wipe without ever having to get up from his seat. So really just planning when you're setting up your vehicle, whether it's in a van, whatever your method of camping is, making sure that everything is within an arm's reach of wherever they're sitting, whether in a car seat, a bench seat, whatever that may be, that they're in reaching distance. They don't have to get out of the seat. They don't need to walk around. Everything that they need is right there. So going on to with setting up your vehicle, we always want to make sure it's child-proofed as well. So as we know, when we travel, we'll go with various cooking items, first aid kits, and kids like to get into things when we're not looking. So I always want to make sure that those things are secured away in areas that they can't get to them. They actually came out with a new headrest safe, which is really nice, where you can actually lock away items, and it needs a key for access. So we always emphasize locking away any dangerous items with children in the van. And then if you have propane inside your vans, just go ahead and educating your children about the potential dangers of having that in the vehicle, not to touch it, where it's located, and just letting them know that is not an area that we go into. And this also falls into with preparing your vehicle, making sure that no sharp edges are exposed. If you're in a camper van, we all know that a lot of times cabinets, they'll have a 90-degree angle, and they are a culprit for giving you an egg on your head. And we all know that our kids, with them being eye level with the lower kitchen galleys, on the corner of our countertops are culprits to hitting them in the heads. A lot of times too, the lower cabinet handles, which is actually why we just started doing recessed cabinet handles on our lower kitchen galleys, is to prevent kids hitting their heads and their legs all the time. So really just making sure, whether you have cabinets or bed structures, whatever that may be, I always say go to Walmart or in Target, get they're like rubber corner stoppers. Typically they're for like fireplaces at home, but I always recommend putting them everywhere throughout the van, any steps where you're getting into the van, if there's any like aluminum edges or anything like that, to go ahead and just band those off to prevent anything happening as you're traveling. So now that our vehicle is set up and we are ready to set out on our adventure, we have our van stocked up. The next thing that I like to keep in mind is having available snacks for our children to minimize having to stop eating junk food. And also when we stop, even though we're in the gas station for 2 minutes, for some reason it adds 20 minutes to our travel time, and that's just not what we're trying to do. So I always like to prepare healthy snacks that are grab and go. If we go to the store and let's say get a bag of crackers, well, I'm gonna go ahead and individually distribute those crackers into individual containers. And he'll have those in his little cube next to him. So whenever he's hungry, he can pick from his snacks. They're in a container, he can just open it, eat it, container goes back in, we're good to go. Mom never had to get up because he was hungry. He had options to choose from. He didn't feel like he was stuck with one thing, and he felt like he had a little freedom in his decision as well. So one of the great things of having a van is having a cooler or a refrigerator. We have a fridge in ours and a mini freezer in the van. So my favorite thing to do is getting mini mason jars, and I love prepping overnight oats for him, yogurt parfaits, little things like that that are really easy where I can just twist the top of the jar off. If he does need something a little more nutritious, protein filled, that can't necessarily go in that cube next to him, it needs to be in the fridge, I can just get up from my seat very quickly, grab it from the refrigerator, hand it to him. He can eat his snack. When he's done, I'll just put it in the sink and we'll deal with it when we get there. So, but again, I totally feel that planning everything out, planning your meals out and their snacks, it's gonna take away any stress for you on the road. So planning any of their favorite snacks, Nutri-Grain bars, crackers with peanut butter, yogurt pouches, things like that. And then anything, the mason jars are your best friends. It also makes food last longer as well. So once we have all of our snacks, and also ask them what they want to eat. Don't just go to the store, like let them have a decision. Aren't we all just grown children at the end of the day? So we all want freedom of having our own decisions. So ask them what they'd want to try new things when you're going to farmers markets or you're stopping at the store on the way. Let them try new snacks and pick out what they'd like. So now that we have all of our food items and everything prepared, now it's time to actually set on the road. And nothing is worse than hearing, "Mom, when are we going to be there? Mom, are we there yet?" That's the last thing we want to encounter. So what I do is I beat him to it. I stop on the road every 3 hours. Back before I had a child, it was ideal for my husband and I to switch off driving. I would drive through the night, he'd drive through the day. We're at our destination in no time. With a kid, I sadly had to put that behind me and realize that that is not my reality anymore. And sometimes we just have to change things. So now, instead of trying to make him wait as long as possible and him finally saying, "Mom, I really need to go to the bathroom," or "Mom, I'm hungry," we break up the trip into 3-hour segments max. So you can get out, stretch his little legs, use the restroom. If we need another snack, you can do that. Take a little break, and then it feels like we've stopped for a little bit. So when we get back in the car, it's like restarting a second trip. The phase 1 is done with. So I always like to do little intermediate stops, and then whenever we do stop as well, I know we want to rush when we're going to gas stations and things like that, but I like to let him take his time. I always emphasize, let your kids go run around. If there's a green area, and if you have dogs, let them go walk the dogs. Look at all the nature around. Life is really your schoolroom, so see how you can teach them with all the things outside at your travel stops, wherever area you're traveling through. If it's a new city, a new town, learn about the history of the area that you're in so your child can learn about that area. You're not just mindlessly moving throughout the country. So that's a big one too. They get really stir crazy being stuck in a small metal box of 80 square feet confined to the back, and they get lonely sometimes. So always emphasize with a parent by their side, letting them converse with people, meet people from other walks of life. And it really, especially when they're not in school and we're traveling, this is really good at growing their social skills as well. So in terms of, so that is breaking up our trips when actually traveling, so we never have to get to the whining stage. And then in terms of where we're actually traveling to, because as adults, we have our certain things that we like. I love to do my historical walks, my little cave tours, things like that, and that's not always ideal for our kids. So whenever he does come along for these more adult style events, I would say, I always like to incorporate him into whatever that we're doing. So I get on his eye level, and whenever, let's say we're going on a talk or like a historical walk that's a little above his level, I'll break it down for him to make it more understandable for him. And then let's say we're going through, perfect example, we were in Mammoth Cave a few weeks ago. We were doing a little history tour, and he was not interested in all. But so we broke it down into the different rocks, the different leaves as we're going through, what a cave system is, and made it more digestible for someone of his age. And so whenever we're going to various national parks, wherever we're going on our road trip, we always let our son have an input on what we're going to be doing for our travel as well. So we'll let him know, hey, let's say we're going to Yosemite, for example. We're gonna go hiking, we're gonna go glacier swimming. What's something that you'd wanna do? He knows the setting. We're gonna be in the woods. We're gonna be around, we do a lot of rock climbing, so he'll know that that's a potential. And then he gets to choose an activity for the duration as we're at that park as well. Just always letting them feel like they have some freedom and they have an option as well in your travel, that they're not just kind of at your dispense and being dragged along. So having here, I'm with Live More over, we have the big blue van. And I don't know if you've seen the little blonde boy running around, but it's not always his favorite to come to these events, but we make do by setting up his own little space so that even though we're here for work, he feels that he has almost his same home amenities here with him. So tying that into whenever you arrive at your campsite, first priority, save yourself some stress. Just go ahead and set the kids up inside the vehicle and outside their area, whether that is coloring books, whether they like to do arts and crafts, if they are screen kids, whatever that may be, whatever their comfort is for traveling, go ahead and set that up as soon as you get to your destination. So that way they can go ahead and keep to themselves, do whatever they want, and then you can continue on setting up your camping vehicle, go on with your itinerary and be able to relax. So those are kind of my favorite tips and tricks. I know it wasn't super in-depth, but these are just some of the things that have helped to minimize my stress as I've traveled on the road with my 5-year-old over the past 5 years. So 6 years now. He was in my belly for the first one. But yeah, so if anyone else has any input, please let me know. I'm always willing to add to my list. So taking advice from other parents as well. But thank you all so much for coming out. This has been such a great event. Super excited to be our first workshop of the day. And y'all feel free to let me know if y'all have any questions. I'll be over at the Live More Outdoors booth. And thank y'all so much.